Hey, gang, it's Dr. Brian McCarley with Genesis Family Chiropractic with another episode of Doc About Town. And today we get a chance to sit down with a good friend of ours, Todd Durham. Todd is known as the Revv, and his company is called Revved Up Tattoos. So we're actually here in the shop. You can see some of the tools of the trade here behind us. And so, Todd, thanks for taking the time to sit down with us today.
Thank you.
So they're located in Castleton. Right off of 86th Street and Center Run Drive.
82nd.
I'm sorry, 82nd.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 82nd Street and Center Run Drive. See, it's live video there. It's all mistakes happen.
No, it's all right.
It's all right. So yeah, if you're in the market for a tattoo or for piercings, or what else do you guys do here? Tattoos and piercings?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. If you're in the market for something like that, give Todd a call. Check it out. So, Todd, tell us about your history here a little bit. What's your origin story? How did you get started doing tattoos?
Well, when I was 13, that's when the first reality tattoo show came out. Miami Ink, LA Ink, all those just kind of started taking root, and that's kind of when I decided this is what I was going to do. Always been an artist. It's in our family.
Okay.
My grandmother actually turned down a job to work for Walt Disney.
Oh, wow.
Back in the late 60s, the family dynamic was a lot different back then.
Sure.
And my grandfather would move to Florida, and she loved him so much that she turned him down.
How about that?
Wow. So I wish we could bring back that kind of family dynamic today.
Yeah.
And art has hit some generations and missed some generations throughout the years.
Okay.
And I'm one of the lucky ones that actually got to have that. So, as a matter of fact, I've got 3 other family members that work here.
Okay.
That are also artists. So,
that's cool.
A lot of people want to say we're family owned. I guess that's a good statement, but we're family operated.
Okay.
Kind of the same, but not,
Cool. So before you got kind of honed in on tattoo with Miami Ink, LA Ink, that kind of stuff, you've been an artist before that. You said you were about 13.
Yes.
What kind of art did you typically do before that? What were you doing when you were younger?
So there was a citywide drawing contest, and they were doing it by age groups. At the age of 13, our age group drew out of the hat the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Right?
Okay.
So I was so fixated on making it look real that I didn't even turn it in.
Oh gosh.
Because 13-year-olds, some are good, some are bad, some shouldn't even be doing it. But I remember working on it for a full month, just one picture, and I just couldn't get it right, so I never turned it in.
How about that?
And I'm not one who takes failure as a way to stay down. I look at it as a way to motivate me.
Okay.
So, we are overcomers, right?
Yep.
And I choose to continue forward.
Okay.
Mistakes don't beat me down.
Sure. So you took that Tyrannosaurus Rex drawing that you were kind of a perfectionist on and didn't even turn it in.
Didn't even turn it in,
But you kept drawing, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And
sure.
so when you would I assume you had a sketchbook when you were a kid.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff just on the random, just when you were bored and you start sketching, what kind of stuff would you draw?
It would be doodling. You've seen one of the things that I've been drawing my entire life up there.
Okay.
Which is kind of one of those God things where it just, like, that's my logo,
Yeah.
But portraits, doodling,
Okay.
Inanimate, just you get bored and start doodling, and next thing you know, it turns into some kind of eclectic, just whatever it is, whatever it turns out to be. And art is imagination. There are artists out there that paint still pictures and portraitures and things like that, specifically just down that lane. But I was never that. I was always just, let me try this, let me try that.
Sure. Just experimenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at 13 then, so you said LA Ink, Miami Ink started being on TV, and you saw that and you're like, hey, I want to do that. Obviously, you didn't become a tattoo artist at 13.
No.
what happened from that point forward to kind of lead you to that path? And at what point did you actually start doing tattoo work?
So of course I continue, just sketching and things like that. But straight out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But what I ended up doing was going into the Marine Corps to honor my grandfather, because he was a Marine, World War II.
How long did you serve?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
So I went in and I did that to honor him. And then as soon as I got out, I got back home and I started right away. Started drawing more, tattooing more, just building it slowly,
Okay.
So I wanted to do it right out of high school, but honestly, nobody's going to hire a 18-year-old kid with, no experience.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So that was the avenue I took. It was kind of twofold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I that was my grandpa. I lost him at an early age. I was 7, and he was only 52. Died of his 3rd massive heart attack.
Wow. That's quite a way to honor his memory.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you got out of the Marine Corps. You started working in tattoo shop then at that point?
Actually, no. I got home, got a real job, because back then it was a whole different way of doing things.
Sure.
Back in the 90s.
You say back then like it was so many years ago. I guess we are men of a certain age, aren't we?
I mean, there was a meme that came out that said, the good old days, and it made mention of the 1980s. And I was like, well, that was only 20 years ago. But in all actuality, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah, right.
So I guess it's just a matter of how you look at it.
Yeah.
But, So
what was your day job, your regular job? What were you doing at that point?
I worked at a factory called Mosey Manufacturing.
Okay.
Right. And it was just raw steel, and they were the company that was hired to make bearing races for, I think, Honda maybe.
Okay.
So we'd get these long steel tubes, and saws would come in and cut it, and we'd measure it, throw it in bins, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But within the first 6 months, I got into a maintenance position because I can't sit still. That's just not me.
Sure.
So that kind of plays into what I do, because, I'm always looking for, even though coming here is a routine, it's never the same.
Sure.
My job is never repeatable.
There's always variety.
Always,
That's
and that's
cool.
the kind of guy I am, because, I don't want to make those jobs unimportant, because they are, and there are people that God made to do those jobs,
sure.
right?
Sure.
That just wasn't me, right? So
you
I
gotta
moved.
Find your fit. Find your place. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty smart. So within the first 6 months, I ended up getting into the maintenance part of things, where I was running the machines, and that gave me more free time.
Okay.
So as I'm, making sure my machines are running, making sure my guys are good, I still had a lot more time that I could just sit in the office and,
just keep doing
keep practicing,
right? Keep practicing.
Getting there, yeah.
So so that was your full-time job. Were you starting to do some tattooing then?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Back then, gosh, I want to say this lightly, because I had a lot of friends, but looking back on it, it was kind of an idiotic move to do,
Okay.
Just like now, I send my people through a training program that keeps them from going down certain paths that I had to actually learn from.
Sure.
So, yes, they have all their friends come in, they get tattooed, but at the same time, they're prepared for that, right?
Yeah.
I prepared myself working on friends and family,
sure.
and things like that.
Sure. So then, at what point did you make the leap into moving out of your day job and being full-time tattoo? How did that come about?
Okay. It was probably about 15, 16 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
I was down in
So in the 1980s.
yeah, in the 1980s, right? Just a couple years ago, right?
Just a couple years ago.
Short years ago.
Right.
I was down in the Beach Grove area, working in the Greenwood, um, and my tattooing had come to the point where it was time, right?
Okay.
So I started working for a couple other guys. I just started working for them.
Sure.
But, we won't
Sure.
go down that path.
Sure.
So that's when I started turning it into full time, and the transition's hard because you get so used to this over here,
Right.
but you got to work harder over here to get this to be
Right.
that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Get your income to match.
Yeah.
Sure. I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I can totally relate to that. So yeah. Okay. So then, how did you get from Beach Grove to here on the north side of Indy?
Okay.
How did that come about?
Yeah. So I was working in a studio that was old school Greenwood,
Okay.
right down on Main Street in the historic district down there. And I got a call from a gentleman who needed help. And me living in Noblesville, traveling all the way to Greenwood every day and then back home.
Yeah, that's a hike.
It's 45 minutes to an hour one way, right?
Right.
So my 10-hour days became 12-hour days. And, this gentleman called me and said, hey, I need help. And this is where I'm starting it. And I was like, okay, it makes more sense, right?
Sure.
It makes more sense to be closer to home. 17-minute travel, and it just freed up a lot more time.
Yeah.
So started taking root here in the Castleton area and started building and building and building. And, me and my wife believe, we believe there is a God, the Holy Spirit, the Son of God. And when it came time for ownership, that's what we focused on.
Okay.
We believe our clients and the people that we tattoo come here for more than one reason, and it's not just the tattoo.
Right. Just not just the ink, not just the piercings.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we strive on the environment. We strive on loving on people. And I'll tell anybody that's viewing right now, if you want to see how bad people are hurting, just go sit in a lobby somewhere and just listen.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to go to the beauty salon or the barber shop and get services. Just go in and listen to people talk,
Mm-hmm.
And they're hurting. And sometimes they don't even know it because it's just so routine in their life,
Sure.
And what better way for us to listen to those people?
Sure.
Right. Sometimes they'll come in and they'll be here for 4 or 5 hours. Right.
Right.
And
that's a lot of ink.
Ministry is a lot of times just listening to people and their problems. And
sure.
We don't preach at them. We just love on people.
Mm-hmm.
We speak the truth.
Right.
We speak the gospel. We are unapologetic. So one of our biggest things was to provide an atmosphere like that. You can go get our services anywhere, but can you go and get the experience?
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Well, and I love that because that really ties together. Because we're friends. We've been friends for a number of years now, and I've gotten to know you, bro. We made it. That's right. You and I talked quite a bit, and so I know, and I think a lot of people would like to know. So, like Revved Up Tattoos, that name, it kind of has a double meaning. I mean, Revved Up kind of sounds like because you ride a motorcycle, you're kind of revved up.
Yeah.
But that's not where it came from, is it? It came from your nickname, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Your nickname, you're known as the Rev.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. Not just your desire to love on people and to minister to people through whatever you're doing, and even if it's tattooing, which seems a little bit odd to some people sometimes, I think. But tell me about the Rev. Where did that come from, and what's your background that led you down that road?
So I've not always been who I am today, right? Which means I had some troubled past catch up to me, and it put me where I should have been.
Okay.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Sure.
Right. Because I wanted to be on top of everything and have control of everybody, and to if you go in the Bible, kingdoms rise and they fall, and they rise and they fall. Right.
Right.
I always had to be on top. And in doing so, I took advantage of a lot of people, turned my back on a lot of responsibilities, and it got me in trouble. I didn't kill anybody. Okay.
That's good.
But yeah, I ended up in prison. And, like I said, hindsight's 2020. That's where I seen God for the first time. Right. And when you start believing, you start understanding, you start reading the Gospels, and you start reading the Bible, and you start letting that change your life. There's always that thing like I'm uncomfortable with that, right? I was naive and uncomfortable because my entire life, the matriarchs, patriarchs, grannies, and grandpas were always saying that's a sin. You're going to hell. You can't do that, right? That's not true. It's just not true. Biblically, that is not true. So that's one thing I learned fast, just to make because I didn't want to have to wrestle with God like Jacob did.
Sure.
So I had a hard time trying to figure out what I was going to do with the talent that he gave me. And if you go to the parable of the talents, there's your answer.
Right.
So my whole life I've been trained mentally that it was wrong, but this whole time it's never been wrong in the Bible. It's never been wrong. Even Jesus comes back in Revelation with a marking on his thigh, which is considered a tattoo based on the Greek terminology, right? So that's how Revv kind of came about. When I got home, of course, I was instantly just busy because people were just waiting on me to get back. But, sometimes we got to put old things away, right? And before my conversion, before God saved me, they used to call me Tattoo Todd. That's all I was known as in the industry.
Okay.
But as soon as I got home and I started back up, full time again, I think it was a God thing. But just in passing, talking to another artist, he said, "Well, what's up, Revv?" You know what I mean? And because I'd started believing,
what a conversion story.
Went to college.
New identity.
Yeah, I went to college. I got my degree in bachelor's pastoral leadership. And I went to do that thinking that I was going to be, the big pastor with the big church, with the big, I kind of idolized my pastor because of, I was there from day one watching him build what he's built, right?
Sure.
And I thought, well, I'm going to go make him proud and kind of follow in his footsteps, right?
Yeah.
And, he was the first person to tell me, like, you ain't fitting the bill. And he just flat out told me, you don't fit the bill.
Yeah.
Nobody will put you in the pulpit because of the way you look, right?
Interesting.
That was one of those, am I going to fall or am I going to excel?
Right.
So that's how Revv was born. They started calling me a Revv in the industry, and that's how people know me now.
Sure.
And like I said, it's unapologetic because this is God's. I'm just here to steward it. Right. And I get to use the talents that I have to actually do it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's how that was born.
That's really cool. So tell us a little bit about then Revved Up. Now we're here. We're present day. You guys have been here, 5 years? Is that right?
Yes.
5 years. Okay. It's in your own shop.
Yes.
So you kind of got to set the tone, how things operate, how things go.
Yes.
Tell us a little more about, you talked about how you guys just love on people and your experience is different than a lot of other tattoo shops. What is it specifically about Revved Up that makes Revved Up just so unique, other than the people? It starts there, obviously, but
the people, as in our clients, or
you guys? No, it's you guys.
Oh, yeah. As the team.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I'm just going to say we're all family now. We've got an adopted one. She's back there somewhere, Fred.
Yeah. Fred.
And then, I've got another artist named Rachel. She grew up as a pastor's kid. And of course, there are Christian-owned tattoo studios around, but it's just that submission to God and His Word, and it's that submission of, we're here to serve. We're not here to capitalize. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's to the point now where I've got clients, I don't even charge them. They just bless me.
How about that?
But as far as our team, we have different personalities, and we can accept anybody that walks in the door, not only based on our skills and who we are, but yet at the same time our talents and what those people need. So are we like any other tattoo studio? I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so, right?
Well, and you have something to compare it to because you've worked in several other tattoo studios. It's not like you worked in one place and then opened your own shop. You've worked in several different places, so you have a feel for that.
Yeah.
And so you guys have been very deliberate, I think, about setting that tone here.
Yes.
Not only setting the tone in the way you do things and the way things operate, but in the team that you've built.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're pulling those people in, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's just a great thing, I think. I think that speaks to a lot of people where they feel like I can step in and I've walked into a living room.
Yeah.
Of somebody that I know that I'm familiar with.
Well, I don't know if my wife's watching or not, but that was one of the things that was first and foremost, this is the way it's going to be, right? Mm-hmm. And for lack of a better term, she held my feet to the fire, right?
Sure.
Before we even opened our doors on day one, she is a brilliant mind, and she went through the Apostles' Creed and put our concepts, our precepts, our structure here throughout that entire thing, and made copies for everybody to read. Like, this is the way we expect to be different than anybody else.
Sure.
Right. So yes, we get a lot of referrals, right, from people who's been here.
Sure.
And then we also get a lot of walk-in traffic, and I would say 95% of those people come back for two reasons, and one of them has to be the atmosphere.
Sure.
It just has to be.
Yeah. Well, you obviously do good work. If you didn't do good work to start out, they didn't get what they were paying for, they wouldn't come back for that.
Correct.
But then they come back more for what you're saying, is that not the untouchable, but the intangible part.
Yes.
The je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's cool. That's really cool. It is French.
Okay.
Yeah. I have no idea what it means, but I think it fits. But
we read it. It's in a book.
Yeah, it's in a book. I heard somebody say it's on a cartoon or something, I think.
Right.
But so tell me about tattoos. What kind of tattoos do you like to do? What are your favorites?
So, as long as my machine's running, that's my favorite.
Okay.
Anything.
So there's no particular style that just you're like, this is what I love to do. I like doing the other stuff too.
That's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm going to say it that way because when I was working in Beech Grove area, I had about 6 or 7 people in the same week walk in for cover-ups.
Okay.
Made mistakes, went to the wrong person or went to somebody that was not necessarily that far along in their journey to complete the tattoo they wanted it to. Mm-hmm. And as I turned them away because I knew nothing about it, that was just one of those moments like, well, I better figure this out, right? Because there are a lot of people out there walking around with a lot of stuff they don't like.
Yeah.
So that's the double-edged part about it, because I do those 85% of the time, right?
Oh, really?
The other
that's a big chunk of your business. I had no idea.
It's a big chunk of my business.
How about that?
And I'm training a couple of the other teams to do, team members to do that too, and they're getting there to kind of help alleviate that part. But as far and in between, do I get? Excuse me. As far and in between that I get, fresh canvas.
Okay.
So
only about 15% of the time, it sounds like.
Yeah. But what's really cool is there's a style out there it's kind of come around about 5-6 years ago. it's a German form of art where they do this real dynamic trash polka style. Brett, do you have that? Can I see that? This is one of the styles. He's getting ready to do one as a cover up, and I've kind of taught him how to do it, but this is kind of the trash polka style. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So it's real dynamic. It's real soft. It's real, it's kind of,
Wow.
yeah.
It's soft, but it's intricate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of detail there. Wow.
So you have these.
That's cool.
You have these real dynamic soft shades, and then all of a sudden one big color pop, right? And then you contrast that with super darks, right? So that would probably be my favorite style to work with because there's no laws, right? Most of the other styles that we have, there's laws you have to follow.
When you say laws, what do you mean?
So if you want
laws of the style, not like legal laws,
of the style. Right?
Okay.
So traditional, 1/3 color, 1/3 black, 1/3 skin. The moment you deviate from that, it becomes a different style, right?
Okay.
So there are things and laws that we have to follow for certain styles.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
That one there's none, right? So, I could be mid tattoo and get an idea. It's like, oh, that's happening, and I'll just throw it right in, right? So that would probably be one of my favorites.
That's cool. Now, you said something about this. You've alluded to a couple different things, and it reminded me of something you and I've talked about before. You talk about doing cover-ups and things like that, and you've said, too, you've not done charity work, but you don't charge some of your clients, and they just bless you.
Yeah.
But you've done some charity work in the past
Absolutely.
with tattooing, right?
Still do.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah.
Because that's a really unique thing, I think, that you do.
To not indulge, give out too much information. I work with two specific groups involved in sex trafficking victims. Most of these women are branded, right? Mm-hmm. They're either tattooed or branded or marked in some way to show ownership to a certain person, right? That we do a lot.
So when you say we do a lot, what do you mean? So bring us to that point. So these women have been involved in trafficking and they've been involved in the sex trades.
Yes.
They've been then rescued out of that. Is that the next step? And that's where you come in.
So when she gets these girls to that, because it's a long process, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
To break habits, to get out of styles, to get out of ruts, to get out of familiarity, which is a very strong word there. It's hard to break free from what you're used to.
Sure.
Right. When they get to their certain points in their journeys and they've actually committed to make that decision, no matter how hard it is, that's when they reach out to me.
Okay.
Because that's one of the remnants that you have to get rid of.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Some people are strong enough to be like, okay, that's a memento, right? I see that in the mirror every day. I'm not going back to that person. But some people are so distraught over it that it has to go.
It's too heavy of a reminder.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah. You're almost giving them an opportunity like what you went through to go from Tattoo Todd to the Revv.
Yeah.
It's that transition. I'm a new person.
It's now. A new person.
I'm not that person anymore. I'm a new person
now.
Yeah. That's really cool. I loved it. When I learned that you did that kind of stuff, I thought that is really, I would have never thought of that. I mean, that's not anything that would have ever been on my radar to think that that's a thing.
Yeah.
And then I found out you did. I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that's really cool that he does
there are some studios in the Chicago, New York area that actually do that full time.
That's all they do.
That's all they do.
Wow.
Is, to tackle it like I do. They also have removal processes to get the markings off the skin, for gang affiliation.
Oh, wow.
All that kind of stuff.
Now, do you do any removal here?
No.
You don't do removals? Okay.
No. Okay. For lack of a better term, Castleton, Carmel, Fishers area, it's an oversaturated market.
Oh, for removals.
Yeah. Okay. And we just kind of stay in our lane.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's good. That's cool. Well, Todd, this has been really cool. I'm glad we sat down and did this today.
You have been really cool.
Well, it helps to have a great guest. So, anything else you'd like people to know about you or Revved Up or your team or?
Yeah, just know that if we are a fit for you guys, 90% of the time you will talk to my wife because, if it wasn't for her, this wouldn't work.
Okay.
And she's the back end business mindset. She's the one that she's my complement, right?
Yeah.
But she's also my juxtaposition because I can do this, she can do that, and we can make that work.
Yeah.
But if I try to do this, she don't like that, and she tries to do this, I don't like that. So
Sure.
we are a team, but honestly, she's the one that facilitates. You are more than welcome to walk in. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Give us the address where your shop is here.
We're at 8240 Center Run Drive.
Okay, in Castleton, Indianapolis,
Yes.
obviously. But how about virtually? What's the best way for people to find you guys on the
email,
on the web, on Instagram?
Yeah.
What's your socials?
We have them all. Revved Up Tattoos.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram. If you want to get in contact and schedule an appointment, email's the best way.
Okay.
We can also text, but I'm not going to put her number out.
Yeah.
But,
or can they message through Instagram or through
yeah,
Facebook?
Absolutely.
And her name is Katie, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll make sure. Yeah, obviously, right. Like I don't know Katie.
Right.
Obviously, but you want to give them her email address?
Yeah,
that's the best way to
it's
start?
just revveduptattoos@gmail.com.
Okay, cool.
Right.
And it's Revved with 2 V's.
Yes.
REVVED.
Yes.
UP. Okay. Cool. All right.
At the same time, if you do that, we have a paper trail to follow, so nobody gets lost through the cracks.
Sure. Rather than just walking in or calling in.
For instance, I tried to do her job.
How'd that go?
And I lost about 3 people in the process. Right?
Yeah.
So that's
work
all
with Katie.
Yeah, work with Katie. Yeah.
Todd does the ink, Katie does the organization.
You work with her there. Right. That's how that works.
Awesome. That's hilarious. Well, cool. Anything else you want to add?
No.
No?
No.
Cool.
I mean,
that's awesome.
One thing that my pastor told me is if you can't put an 80-year-old woman and a 15-year-old woman on the front row and reach both of them, you're not doing it right. So one thing I just want to say is it doesn't matter how old you are. My oldest client right now for a tattoo is 82. Right?
Oh, wow.
My youngest client so far is 13. So
obviously have to have parental consent to do that.
Yes.
So,
but
he's not taking 13-year-olds off the street tattooing them.
Everybody's welcome here.
That's awesome.
Everybody's welcome.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Race, color, creed, doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Jesus loves them all.
That's right.
And so do we.
That's fantastic. I love the way that. Todd,
sir,
thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for watching today. This has been a lot of fun. Obviously, I got to learn some things today. I've known Todd for years, but I didn't know. So I'm excited to know that. As always, check them out on their socials. Follow us, like it, share it, comment on it. If you have questions, Todd will be tagged in this, and so he and Katie can respond. If you have questions, just comment on the video. Be sure and share it with your friends so lots of people can learn about what they do here at Revved Up. So, as always, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, the Noblesville Elks Lodge 576. We really appreciate their contribution in helping us to get this out to be able to reach more people. So, until next time, this is Dr. Brian McCarley with Doc About Town, and we'll see you soon.